someone like Mary. But he resolves within himself what to do. He's going to make a very prudent decision, and he's going to do it in a nice way. He is a righteous man. And in a dream, a righteous man transforms to the right man. He is not just righteous anymore. He is the right man. The right man for this job. The right man who will be a father for Jesus. It's a funny thing, you think that he must have come to some peace initially about his decision. And logically, one would say it would have been prudent. But instead, he does something that is good. It's better than prudent. It is good. It is not practical. And in fact, it looks a little foolish. And poor Joseph will probably be subject, maybe even to the day that he dies, to a little bit of snickering and commentary about his son. I guess though that the joke's all on them because he is right. He's the right man for the job. It's interesting that this fourth Sunday of Advent is traditionally the Sunday that is signified by peace. Probably a little bit like that peace of that resignation that Joseph feels what he's going to do. And then I suppose later on in his life, there was a certain amount of peace that he held in knowing that he was right. Now, unfortunately, like in our language, we use peace, and we use peace for a lot of different meanings. It's not immediately clear. You have to clarify what you mean by when you say peace. You've got your peace of, two factions are warring, and one subdues the other under their foot, and now you have peace. And I'm not going to hear anything else out of you. You're going to keep your mouth shut, and we have peace. That's one type of peace. It's effective, but there you go, peace. And that's one probably we're the most familiar with as humans. Then we also have the image of Jesus with his disciples on the water. There he is, and the waves are crashing. The boat is rocking and filling with water, and terror fills them, and Jesus stands up, and he says, "Peace." Of course, the translation of what he says there is really more along lines of, "Shh." Calm and quiet. There's your second definition of peace. But the peace that we seek and that we see in this fourth Sunday is best understood and affirmed in shalom, which is one that gets tossed around. Shalom, y'all, shalom. But that is the peace. And that is not just a question of one side subduing another and having peace. It's not just a question of shut up, peace. But peace as in the full wholeness. That we are made whole. That the relationship is reconciled between us and another, between the world and God. Peace shalom. And we play this out each week when we exchange the peace. After we have confessed our sins, we've had an absolution, and we exchange a peace, trying to express that shalom, that reconciliation that we have with each other, that reconciliation we have with ourselves and with our God, that peace that makes us whole. It's such a funny thing to think that as we cruise into Christmas, which is what it will be, I mean, I have a feeling that the minute those doors open, after I say go in peace to love and serve the Lord, I know that each and every one of us, we're going to basically bolt out here as fast as we can, because we have got Christmas presents to wrap, and we've got people to see and places to go, and we're going to go have a lot of fun. I guarantee that. But isn't it funny to think that we're to reflect on that peace? That peace, that promise of reconciliation, that promise of connection, that promise of wholeness that is lived out in Emmanuel, God with us. That God makes us whole. He comes into the world and is one of us. And we are whole at last. The warring, the battle is done, and it is not that one side is subdued and the other one is victorious. The storms of raging have stopped. And it's not just that they are quiet, but that we are made whole in a peace of God which surpasses all understanding in our hearts and minds. But it's in the knowledge and love of our Lord Jesus Christ. And that is what we are to reflect on this week as we enter into the excitement, the fun, the joy, the celebration. It's that peace. And so I want you to have the most exuberant and fun Christmas you can have. I want there to be joy, and I want there to be excitement, and I want there to be noise, and laughter, and perhaps an overfilling of delicious treats. Some of us might do that, maybe not the others. But also I pray that each and every one of us would have that peace, that wholeness, that shalom, that peace of God which surpasses all understanding, that keep your hearts and minds in the knowledge